David, I'd like to ask you, how do you approach ESG when you work with your portfolio companies?
Thanks, Annabelle. I mean, ESG is a core part, I think, of investment activity, and it's expanded in terms of its terminology. I mean, we use the phrase impact, and we're encouraging businesses to make positive impacts across a range of areas. So ESG is a lot more now than than just the impact on the environment. It's about your community, your corporate culture. And we look at it very much as over the period of time that we are invested with a business, which can be typically 4, 5, 6 or 7 years, that at the end of that stewardship, the business is a better business. And that is not just in financial return, but in lots of those other areas. And there are lots of tools that we use to help and encourage that. But from the outset, as part of the assessment of the business, we'll agree in the initial project some goals that they want to set themselves and objectives, and then we set specific things to measure that, whether that's about increasing employee engagement or running apprenticeship schemes, or how they want to improve their relationship with local schools. Whatever it is, we'll set those as initial goals, and then they will be continually reviewed by the management teams in which we invest as we stay. So it's one of those areas which is a sort of truism, isn't it? What gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets done. So I think if that's in the heart of the sort of the KPIs that businesses use, right, will mean that ESG and all of its positive outputs, can be seen and taken on by all businesses. And in some businesses, even if they just do one thing better than they did when they started, that sometimes can be like a real win.
Thanks very much, David. I think investors find it really reassuring that you're monitoring these ESG benefits and measuring them and seeing an output. I'd like to ask the same question to Stuart. ESG and the benefits, how you're working with your companies.
Yeah, sure. I mean, ESG is really right up at the top of the agenda now. It's really important both to VCT fund managers and their underlying investors and the companies that we invest in, that they that they really focus on ESG initiatives as an issue. Companies who want to recruit employees, those employees will only want to join businesses which share their values. And the same thing for customers. Will want to buy products from companies that share their values. So things like sustainability and packaging, for example, are getting increasingly important in companies building their brands and attracting customers and growing their revenues. So we're taking this very seriously at Beringia, and we've taken a lot of initiatives internally in terms of training and recruitment, and also in the places that we look for deals to make sure that we get access to underrepresented founders. And we're also organising lots of things for the portfolio, for example, webinars on sustainability and unconscious bias. And we're encouraging companies to collect diversity metrics and take actions to improve diversity, not least at board level. And we're also developing a framework alongside our portfolio company's social value portal to evaluate the social impact of existing and new portfolio companies. And it's also important to say that the increasing focus on ESG across the population is creating investment opportunities. And 4 out of the 5 companies that we invested in for the first time last year are all benefiting from this trend. So we invested in Second Nature, which provides a sustainable weight loss program through their app. Commonplace, which allows communities to influence their built environment. Social Value Portal, which allows organisations to measure and manage the social value that they create. And Luxury Promise, which has got very strong sustainability credentials as it's based on recycling pre-owned luxury products.
Thanks very much, Stuart. I think I might be using that one myself. I think I've got quite a number of second-hand handbags, for example, things like that here, which I really ought to be selling. So it does sound very sustainable and extremely useful as well. I'd like to ask the same question to Warren.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I think it's an interesting area that we put a lot of thought into. Downing is a signatory to the Principles of Responsible Investment, a UN supported network of investors committed to ESG. Downing takes its ESG responsibilities very seriously. We have a variety of checks and systems in place that let us screen investments as part of our selection process. With a responsible investor approach, we apply the same standards to our investments, and we'll always ask the wider question of how a portfolio company is positively and responsibly providing a solution to its wider network and the world around it. We were very fortunate to be an investor in a company called Parsable, which is a perfect example of this. They've digitized operational tools for today's frontline industrial workers, men and women working in sometimes dangerous manufacturing environments, all through COVID. It's like the unsung heroes. People that didn't have any choice but to go to work in consumer packaging, food production, other facilities that are critical to our day-to-day lives, all in the midst of COVID. If they didn't go to work, there would be no food delivered to their grocery stores. The Parsable platform, their connected worker platform, takes standard operating procedures and safety procedures, digitizes them, puts them on your mobile phone or another handheld device to ensure complicity with a variety of safety and operational standards. It's an international platform that's had huge uptake in the COVID environment, which was already growing before. It's one of the big, the law of big numbers arguments we make here at Downing, that any investment we make has to be a global proposition. Other things that we've done is, we have an investment in a company called Vivacity, which is making urban environments safer and less polluted by the way it monitors and optimizes traffic flow. There's Carbice that makes electronics safer with their Carbice carbon product by reducing heat. But in all of this, part of our screening, we look for diversity, inclusion, good policies that provide a workforce that, shows, the people who are really in the world, not just sort of a one-way street. So we like to look at a variety of factors there, but it's very serious to us here at Downing.